Hey guys, this is my first video tutorial, so please be kind and patient with me. I actually wasn't planning to do this, but someone on Facebook needed help using their new All-American canner. So I put together instructions primarily on how to operate the canner, not how to pack the food, but I did a raw pack pork, which was just cubed pork put into jars with a teaspoon of salt and no liquid added. If you have any questions, please post and I'll be happy to help. Thanks. Okay, so I have got my pork. It's in cold jars. It's raw pork. It's not heated. I've added it in. If you're going to do cold jars, cold product, cold canner, or you have to do hot jars, hot product, hard canner, because you don't want to have a temperature shock. So we're wiping the rims really good with a paper towel that has white vinegar on it. And you want to make sure there's no bits of anything on there so that you can get a good seal. Okay, so we've wiped the rims really well. This is salt on the top of the things. I've got a teaspoon of salt per quart. We've got our lids. You don't have to boil them anymore. They used to make you sanitize. None of this has been sterilized. It's just been washed with soapy water because it's going to go in the canner and that's going to sterilize everything. So we put our lid on, put the rings on, and just do them finger tight. You don't want to really wrench them on there or they'll buckle whenever you're canning them. Okay, so I have my 7 quarts in my All-American and I'm going to add 3 quarts of water. And then I'm going to add, if I can find my bottle here, just a tiny bit of vinegar. Oh, and I didn't, just a splash of that. I didn't show that this goes in your canner first. This one's kind of like, this I haven't used, so it's black, but that vinegar helps this stay nice and silver. So there's one of those in there underneath the jars that you can't see. That keeps them off the bottom so they don't break. Now, if I was doing like pints and I could do a second layer. I would put this on here and I'd put the pints on top, but I don't have a big enough canner to do 2 layers of quarts. So we have 3 quarts of water, a little bit of vinegar, and it kind of dumped on that lid, which I didn't really want it to. Okay, so then we're going to put the lid on. And you turn it until these things go like this. So then you're gonna, on these locks, there are 1, 2, 3, 6 of them. You're gonna do the opposite sides at the same time. So if I'm gonna do this one here, which I'm gonna have to loosen it to get it on there. I'm gonna get that just perfectly lined up. So while I'm doing that one, I'm gonna do this one back here until all 6 of them are. Okay, so I've got all 6 of the nuts are locked down tight. I'm going to turn the heat on. Everything is cold in here. Cold water, cold jars, cold product, cold lids, cold canner. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on to high. And I'm going to wait for it to start venting out of the steam pipe. And when I can see, that light? No, okay. When I can see steam venting from the pipe, I'm going to count down. I've always been taught to do it for 10 minutes, but somebody on the group said that their All-American instructions say to do it for 7 minutes, but I don't have the manual. So 7 minutes, 10 minutes, you're going to let it vent out of this, and you're going to just see little shoots of steam. And then once your timer is up for that, you're going to go ahead and put the weight on. Okay, my canner has been venting. Can you see the little tiny puffs of steam? Been doing this for about 8 minutes. So knowing apparently that I'm only supposed to have to go 7 minutes now, I'm going to go ahead and put the weight on. Your weight looks like this, and it's got a 5 pound. I don't know why you would use that unless maybe you were just doing beans by themselves, not the can. 10 pound, which you only do if you're under 1,000 feet elevation, or 15 pound, which I'm at like, I think I'm close to 2,000 feet elevation. So I always can at 15 pounds no matter what I'm canning. So it's got a hole under each spot. So to do this, you're just going to set it on tight with the 15 down. Now it also has a gauge, so that's your pressure, and it's going to start building. I think that technically people that only have a gauge, I think maybe it's only like 12 pounds that's required. So I guess they just watch their gauge. I don't know. But what this is going to do is my gauge needs to be set, because mine, when it starts wiggling, I'm actually at about 13 pounds, or maybe it's 14 pounds. Anyway, I go by the wiggle because I think my gauge needs to be adjusted. But it's normal for you to have some fluid like this. And once it gets up to pressure, it's going to start doing this little sizzling, jiggling, wiggling thing. And you want it to do that 1 to 4 times every minute. But you can also be watching your pressure gauge to know where you're at. Okay, we're officially doing the jiggle wiggle, and this constant wiggle jiggle means my pressure is too high. Even though my gauge says I'm just below 15 pounds, I'm going to turn my heat down, and I want to hear this jiggle 1 to 4 times a minute. So it's going to take a minute for it to come down. But I'm also going to start my timer right now because it means that I am up to pressure, and I'm going to set it for 90 minutes. Because I am canning meat. So that stopped jiggling. And I know for my stove that I usually keep it around a 5, which is kind of medium high. I get mine goes through 6 and then it goes to high. So 3 would be, or probably 3.5 would be medium. So I'm medium high. So there it goes. So that's what you want to hear, 1 to 4 times a minute. Okay, it's been like 2.5 or 3 hours now. Our thing went for 90 minutes and our pressure's at 0. You can hear this right here if that's what you hear steaming. Use a hot mitt to take this off because it's going to be hot. You might hear a little bit of air coming out. And you can hear the jars pinging a little bit in there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock this, and I don't need a hot mitt for that. I'm going to just open my lid just a tiny bit. Okay, so I've got everything unlocked. I'm going to turn it, and then I'm just going to open this up, and I'm going to sit it like this. And I'm going to leave it for probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I'm not going to pull anything out until it's had time to cool off a little bit inside, so there's less of a temperature shock between inside the canner and outside the canner. All right, we're going to go ahead and take the lid off. There's all of our jars. I'm going to go ahead and see about pulling them out. This is my canned pork. I'm going to put it over here, and I'm going to set it onto a towel so that I don't have a temperature shock between the jar and my countertop. And then I'm going to let it sit for 12 to 24 hours and then take the rings off and store.